Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kevin Lee Show. Thank you for coming on. This is an 8-part series that I will be releasing every week on Monday at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The preface for this interview is based around a primary question that I learned from Tony Robbins attending his business mastery event in Amsterdam. And it is based around, if your core business was completely disrupted tomorrow, what would you do? How would you pivot or innovate? And during this time of the recording, we're going through the COVID pandemic. And so I thought it was very fitting interviewing people from around the world in different industries to see how they've pivoted and innovated in their struggling industries. And so the idea is to inspire and encourage people who need it. And so I hope everyone can learn a few lessons from these experts. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Hello. Today we have Jessca. She is a well-rounded, multi-faceted entrepreneur within technology, beauty, food, and self-help industry. Her immersion in public service, legal research, business development, marketing, and customer engagement across multiple sectors paved the way to her entrepreneurship. She takes her inspiration from living creatively, acts of kindness, authenticity, and challenges and problems that call for solutions. Her affinity to building great things from the ground up is traced back from her upbringing in the outskirts of Metro Manila, which also birthed her complete regard for contribution towards the greater good. Currently, Jessca works closely with IT executives to build strong cybersecurity programs for their organization through her company, GenuineXs. GenuineXs is a cybersecurity-focused solutions provider, integrated with a wide offering of professional IT services at the enterprise level in North America, with Jessca co-founded in 2017. Jessca's fascination with language, the mind, and living full brought her to create Mind Muscle, a self-help organization that utilizes the power of the mind through transformative exercises, building a tribe of mentally fit warriors. In 2016, at a job interview after college, she was asked how she sees herself in 5 years. Jessca answered, a CEO of her own company. That she then was asked what kind of company that she would answer, a beauty company. Jessca has fulfilled that in 2019 when she started Luho Skin, where she offers high-quality skincare products and supports local farmers in the Philippines while doing so. During the quarantine, and as an extension of her living full principle, she started Impact Superfoods, where she freshly breaks high-protein granola bars made from high-quality superfoods to high-quality ingredients to fuel people's energy from nutrient-dense food. Undoubtedly, entrepreneurship brought her into uncharted territories and has expanded her way of living beyond borders and beyond fears. She believes that people are gifted with gifts uniquely of their own, so she started Say Yes podcast to take the entrepreneur out of people and help people build businesses that will last. Everyone, please welcome Jessca. Hey Jessca, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. I hope everything is well in New York during the time of this recording. It is during the COVID pandemic. There are lots going on over there. I hope that you are safe. And what's the situation over there at the moment?
Fortunately, where I'm at, I'm outside the city. So I'm in Long Island. So I don't really feel the craziness, if you will, in the city that's dense and packed and so tight together. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. So where I'm at, I don't really feel it. Yeah. Although you could feel it when you go to the stores. You know, you practice social distancing and people being close together really don't want you to be close to them at all, which is good. They're practicing social distancing. But overall, where I'm at, it's great. I'm not entirely sure in the city.
Okay. I understand that you have a cybersecurity startup called GenuineXs. Could you share with us a little bit of your story of how you got into the cybersecurity business?
Yeah. So my exposure to security, I look at it as perfect timing. I was very fortunate to work at that time when I graduated college, this cybersecurity startup called Darktrace. And at that time, they were the #1 company who revolutionized how we view network visibility and behavioral analytics when it comes to securing networks. in any type of environment. So what it does is it understands human behavior patterns, normal patterns of behavior within that environment. And so it sees in real time anything that is against that normal patterns, any deviation that's against that normal pattern of behavior that people are doing within the environment. So for example, if you're an HR person and your job, you're connected in that environment, your job is from 8 to 5, you do the same thing, you click on the same folder, right? And what happens is that, like, if they notice that, like, after 5 p.m., this specific user is opening up folders, that's a deviation, and that's essentially a cybersecurity attack happening within that environment. So I think that my exposure to that led me to working to another security consulting company. So from that very specific aspect of cybersecurity, where it only tackles network security, I went into a bigger security consulting company that handles pretty much risk and compliance and risk and management. It tackles development security, architecture. So it really broadened my knowledge into understanding that, one, cybersecurity is not only about specific network and not only about network security, even though sometimes we think that it is. It's protecting the network. But what I've learned is that, well, it actually is there's a bigger scope. There's risk and management, meaning that there's compliance behind it. There are laws that companies have to abide by, so that they are under the privacy, they're abiding about, like, protecting the citizens about their information. And because of that, and those two small experiences, my boss at that time at the security consulting company and I started our own security firm. And from there, here we are.
Oh wow, what a journey! What a journey! And so with cybersecurity, with your company GenuineXs, how is it looking pre-COVID and then during COVID at the moment? Have you seen much of a shift between the two periods?
Yeah, so clearly we've noticed differences with how organizations are running their technology decisions pre-COVID, and then during the COVID, and then now when the COVID happened, and then now, right? And I like to distinguish, like, the three kind of separate situations. And so, like, pre-COVID, there are organizations who weren't really taking security seriously as a subject matter within their decision process. And during the COVID, when the COVID was starting to happen, when the work from home was initialized to all of us, then we've seen technology leaders really making that decision to, buffer up, or, like, really rush up making decisions in terms of, like, security and being involved into their endpoint devices going out to people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
And now there was a period within the COVID period where people actually froze their budgets as well.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear about that, because how the market is doing, and some organizations are affected during this time, and so the decisions were frozen, and now things are getting back to normal and projects are opening up again. But there is this heavy emphasis on security, much more than before.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that, like, when all these things are happening, the focus is also security at the core. Is our technology running the way it should, but are we secure? So that's the second question that technology leaders are asking.
I see that we're definitely moving towards a more digital space altogether, like whether it's small businesses or large businesses. A lot of people are working from home and everyone's moving towards that direction. And so what would be some of do you feel could be the breaches in personal cybersecurity in that space?
Say that again.
So in terms of everyone moving towards an online space, like because everyone's social distancing, everyone's working from home, everyone's using Zoom and all these other applications to converse online. What would be some of the personal cybersecurity issues you think that would have to be careful of?
Yeah. We've all heard what happened with Zoom. And for a while, it was actually banned in the city schools. And then it got lifted in May, mainly because when Zoom was built, there's definitely a lot of security flaws and privacy issues that was built into the program when the application was built. There's more than a dozen security and privacy problems that have been found. And because of that, when people open the application, hackers and can actually do they can launch malware attacks using, just by going into Zoom rooms because they have access. And how I want to translate that in terms of just one seeing the digitization of everything right now because of COVID is that we have to be much more aware of what security means. And so I want to take a step back and say, okay, when we hear cybersecurity, I hear, whenever people ask me, what do you do? And I say, hey, I do cybersecurity. And they're like looking at me like, what is that? And
Yeah.
I want to break that down for people because cyber just means information technology or anything that deals with computer. And security, we all are aware about. It's protecting something of importance, right? And so physical security is the same. When you're building an infrastructure, any type of building, when you're looking for a home, right? The number one question that people ask when they're moving into a place is it a safe neighborhood? Right?
Right,
Is it a
it's
safe
true.
neighborhood? How are the doors? Do they lock? And essentially, cybersecurity is the same thing. And you pointed out a very good point that now we're moving into this realm of it's so hard to pronounce,
Digitization.
digitization. That people just need to realize that, like, oh, okay, if I have to take care of my physical assets, myself, my family, and what I have inside my home, it's the same thing when I think about cybersecurity. It's all things digitalized. And so looking into, let's say, the way we do banking, our own personal banking information, right? It's thinking about those things. When we look at our computer, everything that goes in it, the information that's being transmitted, is also thinking about security at the core of it, because we don't want to build an empire, right? With, let's say, we're making money and we're saving money, and we don't want to save that money without thinking about securing it, and only just leaving it up to the bank organizations, the financial institutions, because they have the job to protect our own information and our own data
Mm.
and our finances. But we also have a job to protect those information and
Yeah.
or our assets as well. So I don't know if that's very helpful,
No, no.
but I wanted to take a step back and to say that out loud, just so people, when people hear cybersecurity, they don't have to feel threatened
Yeah.
about it.
Well, that's a very good framework that you've mentioned. That, like, it's really easy to understand that now that you've put it that way. I've never heard of that put it that way, actually. And it makes people think about it more when you put it that way. It's like, oh, wait, you're right. It's, you care so much about your physical space, but you spend so much time on the digital space. It's like, well, how are you securing yourself there? And so I think it's a good segue into, like, what are some of the tips or paths or resources or things that people can tap into if they wanted to look to securing more of their own personal cybersecurity, for say?
Sure. I think one of the things that I tell people is your passwords are important. Your usernames and your passwords are important. So don't use the same password to everything,
Mm-hmm.
to your access to everything. And by doing that, what you can do is you can use a password management software. I know, like, Mac computers have a built-in password management software, but you can use other softwares so that they can regenerate passwords for you, and they can use it you can access it from a locked environment. And so then it's a hard password to guess. So why is this important? If it's an easy password, what hackers tend to do is they type in 12345, right? Let's say they have your email information. They can just run through any person who has 1 2 3 4 5 password, if they have your email, they can access anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's one simple access, let's say if you open a window of someone's house, you can pretty much look through and go in little by little, inch by inch. So that's one of the big things that I tell people is practice good password management, but at the same time, look at what you click as well. Watch out for phishing scams. Beware of any suspicious emails that you receive and phone calls. One of the big things in security and securing your own private digital space and world is one by looking at like the emails that you're clicking through, and a lot of people get sucked in into clicking a suspicious email, and you have to look at the where the email is coming from. So the sender's email address. A lot of times what hackers do is they create false websites, and from those false websites they create email domains, and so they would send you an email that looks like your bank, your financial institution, or Netflix,
Yeah.
or whatever. And they tell you, hey, like type in your account. We need to verify your information. And so once you type in your username and your password in their site, they already now have it.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Stay away.
So another thing that this is very simple, I want to tell people is to keep your software updated, to update everything, because these companies, people who, let's say Apple or Windows, they launch software updates all the time to Androids or iPhones.
Yeah.
So that like these software updates include like the updates on the device so that you're protected. So don't be lazy about it. I get lazy sometimes. Update your phones.
I'm guilty of that. I don't always update my software, but now that you've mentioned it, and I should be a lot more.
One last thing that I want to mention is that thinking about protecting, just like the analogy that I gave earlier, is that when we go out to an unknown place, we always think about like, hey, protect yourself. Do you have something with you to protect yourself? Or you're walking outside and it's dark, like protect yourself, be aware. And I think in the digital space, it's so important to think right now that you are a potential target to any hacker out there, because they see you as a dollar sign. Any information you have is so important in the black market. It's so expensive. Like people buy information. And so we live in a data-driven society, meaning that if I have access to your social security, your address, your date of birth, your name, I can sell that in the black market and make money off of it. Even your Snapchat handle and your Twitter handle is valuable. They could, like, essentially any information you have, even your health information, your medical information, is important for a hacker. They make a lot of money every year, millions of dollars from just by doing this, targeting people and taking their identity. And so I just want to keep people to like an alerted level, knowing that like everyone could be a victim. And so when you keep yourself guarded and say, you know what, I could be a target, and so I'm not gonna put a password that's like super easy to guess, like 1 2 3 4 5, which is the most common password people use all the time. I'm gonna keep myself updated. I'm gonna be wary of the emails that I click in and the sites that I visit and all that stuff. Just very basic. It's not meant to scare people, but it's just meant to say, hey, your information is important. Your financial information is important, and they're valuable, so protect it.
Well, lots of valuable tips there, Jessca. Just a personal curious question. Like I have some friends who are influencers in their own micro communities, and sometimes they post about their profiles being copied and like on Facebook or on Instagram, like these fake profiles going around of them. So there's a photo of them and they're going around messaging people and stuff. So how does all that work? Just so you can shed some light onto any of that, if there's anything.
People creating a fake profile is like, that's another problem into just us being so technologically heavy type of society, right? It's a problem that's budding out, is people mirroring other people to create a following, or perhaps led them to believe that like, hey, subscribe to, like I've heard so many influencers who someone fake their identity and kind of ask their subscribers to give them money or something, right? Like there's so many things that like a hacker could use with a simple one, your popularity, your information, you're a high target, to using that to gain more information, gain more data, or gain money. And I forgot your question initially, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but right now, because it's so new, these are also new. We haven't even, some of the hackers out there are way advanced. And what I want to tell people is that it's happened in history. We live in a society where over and over and times again, technology is always way advanced, far faster than human beings. And so society is always left behind. And because of that, there are people who are way advanced when it comes to hacking and manipulating the system, that people don't even know that their data is being stolen, right? And so with that in mind, the answer to your question is that we don't even have privacies in place or rules in place within the government system, not that I know of, when these things happen. Even when your identity is stolen, it's still a hard work for a person whose identity was stolen to bring back that person's identity. And so that's why this is actually crucial and important to just be guarded.
So
it's a very good question.
Be guarded to begin with, so you don't lose that information, because once it goes out, it's pretty hard to get back.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's such an interesting space. It's something I don't think that a lot of people think about too much, because all their friends are online, you're online, and it's just like, hey, this is just what we do now. What are your thoughts on the future of cybersecurity and the direction it's heading post-COVID or another 5 to 10 years down the track?
Yeah. One, I think that cybersecurity is a great space to be in for younger kids out there, mainly because, as I've said, technology as a whole is driving our society, for good, and there are some bad, right? But every time technology advances, security is at the core of it. So thinking about it excites me, because the things that we're doing in anything that you're building, if you're a software developer, if you're an entrepreneur thinking about starting an app, which all of us kind of think about, hey, I'm going to start an app, I'm going to create a website as a small business owner. Thinking about all these things, there's security attached to it every single time. It's the core of the things that you're doing, because again, we talked about what are you guarding, what are your most important assets, and what are you protecting. And so yes, as technology advances, security is going to be at the core of it. And so I want people to think about, even for younger kids and for entrepreneurs and for everyone pretty much, that thinking about security all the time when there's an advancement of technology is like, where's security built in this? And looking at one of the very simple examples is that setting up your two-factor authentication, right? With Facebook, they offer that, and Instagram, and even your financial institutions. And always, I think that removing the fear that like security is something that's really hard to understand, because it isn't. And also once you remove that fear as a business owner or whatever it is that you're doing, you can now kind of join with the flow of like understanding, hey, what can I do to protect my information, because I don't want to be a victim of a hacker or anyone trying to take out my information and do something bad about it. So it's really exciting future ahead for younger people who want to get in on it, because even if you're a software developer, security is built in as your coding. One of the big important things, if you want your application to be bought out by Facebook or Instagram or Google, one of the big things that they look at is, did they build this application securely? And so practicing secure coding practices is so crucial when you're even as a software developer, even as a technologist, and so always keeping that in mind. And I'm looking forward to a future where we are more cybersecurity aware. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I think that space is absolutely going to explode because I'm even starting to see a lot more in the mainstream media now, more about like these cybersecurity attacks, because Obviously, everyone's in quarantine and everyone's using online space more. There's concern about children, their kids, their security, and who they're
Yeah.
contacting and who's contacting them, and so on. And along with, I think, the direction of the smart homes that eventually
Yes.
will come into play. And of course,
Yeah.
there's all the digital businesses that are coming online as well within the next decade for sure.
So you brought up a very good point that with the rise of technology again and smart homes and people really getting involved in security, one of the things that I'm seeing is that cybersecurity is not only going to be available to on the enterprise level, but it's going to be widely available to the masses. So I kind of see it as sort of the bad, and I don't want to label it as a bad, but with any advancement of technology, the cost is that we have to spend more on security as well.
Yeah.
When you level up your smart home, now you're going to think about, how do I secure this? Even Ring cameras, the ones that are used for security, are also target for security. So how do you now build a system used for physical security that's also secure, that's not gonna automatically target your homes and essentially not be secure after all?
So just quickly, what are rain cameras? Sorry, I'm not sure what they are.
Sure. Yeah, so Ring cameras are in the US, they use it here outside of your door. So then people inside their homes, or when you're outside or somewhere outside, you can see who's coming where you installed your cameras. And
Okay.
I don't know if that's you guys have that in Australia, right?
Yeah, we do. Yes, okay. We haven't come across, well, I haven't come across the term rain camera, so I wasn't sure what that meant. But yes, we do have something similar.
Yeah, I'll tell you a positive thing. Ring cameras are used, let's say, in my town, right? And they have this small community, which I think is really great. They have a small community where they could see someone stealing packages, and they spread it out to everyone, like, hey, this person is stealing packages, and also the cops, and use it as an information to help, find somebody who's doing a bad thing. Yeah. But it's a good investment, I think, if you own a home.
Yeah, for sure. And moving forward, what are you focusing on now, or what are you excited about most?
Sure. I'm excited about a lot of things.
Tell us.
I'm excited about a lot of things. One, I'm excited to see where this is going, where this is leading, and how it's changing us as a society, and how it's also going to change the way we run things as business owners, and I'm excited and looking forward to having and engaging conversations with IT executives and telling them, and just also hearing how they're planning on, executing cybersecurity programs within their organizations. But I'm also excited about my granola bars and
cool. Tell us about it.
Right now, the quarantine really allowed me to spend time. I had a lot more time, that I would spend traveling. So I ended up making granola bars, and I'm normally very picky about my ingredients and the food that I personally eat for myself. And I wanted to do the same thing for people, to create something that's delicious, but also super nutrient dense. Yep. We go to the stores and we see granola bars, and they're all packed with like high fructose corn syrup and all these additives and preservatives. And I just challenged myself, if I could do something tasting better, but also that's coming from like Whole Foods, and you're just like put it together and you bake it and you serve it to people. And so I'm excited about that because people are enjoying and loving them. Wow. It was tagged as Heavenly Blast of Goodness by one of my friends who bought it. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's validating. Wow. Thank you so much.
Heavenly Blast of Goodness. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, and they ship internationally too. So just a side note.
Wow.
But also I'm excited about Mind Muscle, which is this mind exercises that I'm doing with one of my friends. And it really is to release people from victimhood to their freedom. And I'm excited about that because I'm fascinated personally with like language and the mind and human behavior. And so I'm excited about what we can do to help others get out of that lowest point of life and turn their lives around. Also, one last thing, I have a podcast. It's called Say Yes Podcast. And it's something that I do just on the side to talk it out loud as an entrepreneur, the things I'm learning. And I just love doing that. So, yeah.
Say Yes. I love that title.
Thank you. Yeah.
And as we wrap up, where could people find more about you or reach you? What's the best way to go about that?
People can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Jessca Dreams. It's Jessca, no I. And that's where they can find me. They can find me on Facebook, but my name is so long. I'm not entirely sure if they will find me right away. But the easiest way to find me is through Instagram, and people can DM me, and I'd be happy to respond back and have a conversation around cybersecurity. If you're a student who's trying to get into the space, I'd be happy to share some of my time and talk to people about cybersecurity and or anything else that I've mentioned. So.
Wow, that's so generous of you. Thank you so much, Jess. I will put all the links in the show notes for everyone to easy access your profile.
Awesome.
So they
Yeah.
can find you. I loved having this conversation with you so much. It was eye-opening, it was educational, and I think there's a lot of value for the people who are listening and viewing. Thank you so much for your time, Jess.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and I had fun as well.
Great. Well, you please take care, and we'll definitely catch up soon. Till the next
All right.
time.
Yes, I'll be here.
All right. See you, Jess. Bye.
All right, bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. All the links to the show notes will be available at kevinleesocial.com, spelled Kevinly. Conversely, if you have any interviews that you'd love to recommend, please send it over to kevinleesocial@gmail.com. I'd love to connect. Thank you. Until the next episode.